Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Colby from Sanitarium Productions. We're back again with another G.I. Joe action figure review. In this episode, we're taking a look at the 25th anniversary box set, the Armadillo Tank versus Serpentor's Air Chariot. A very cool looking set. So this was, again, from the 25th anniversary, so it came out in 2008, thereabouts, 2009. We'll look at the back here and see what the copyright says. But it's a very cool set. We get two very cool smaller vehicles from the set, the Armadillo Tank and Serpentor's Air Chariot. We also get two figures in the set. We get Steeler and Serpentor. Very awesome. This is a great set. The Serpentor's Air Chariot was a really awesome figure from the original vintage line. The Armadillo Tank was pretty cool in its own right, I suppose, too. But I'm more interested in Serpentor's Air Chariot here. So, anyways, it does come in a nice window box here. You get to see a nice kind of battle scene going on inside of it. Just kind of take a look at everything. We got the G.I. Joe logo on the top. On the bottom, we have the GIJoe.com thing with the old Joe on it. The serial number, UPC code. The side has some really cool artwork here featuring the Armadillo Tank and Serpentor's Air Chariot fighting it out. And on the other side, we got this cool picture of Steeler. So, don't really know why they featured him instead of Serpentor, but that's what we got with the box set. Anyways, on the back, we do have kind of a larger detail of the included stuff, along with some of the other figures and vehicles from the sets. And copyright on this is 2008, so I guess I was correct. That was 11 years ago now. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. This particular one I got is not in the best shape. It looks like they actually sliced the actual bubble window box thing when they were opening the case, and that's actually pretty common to find them like that. But it didn't matter to me because we're opening this thing anyhow. But yeah, if you're looking for one of these mint, just be careful that tend to happen a lot. So at any rate, let's go ahead and get this thing open and pull these figures out and start taking a look. So we do have a single piece of tape over here on the side. We'll go ahead and slice that off. Then you got a little tabby thing here at the top. And then this should just lift out like so. And kind of fold out. And we grab the inside of this and pull this entire display thing out. Should work. There we go. Lots of cool stuff on the bottom here, but nothing else inside of the box. So we can toss that to the side. So they kind of have these things sort of taped on the bottom and sort of not taped, but we do have, and we'll open these up here in a second, insert flyer. We've got sticker sheets, file cards, and instruction sheets for everything, so that's cool. But we get our first look at the actual figures inside of it. A nice diorama artwork on the back here. And yeah, this one's kind of a weird shape in the way that they did this here, but I don't know why they did that way, but they did. On the box bottom here, we also have the accessory kit. Let's go ahead and pull the tape off of that. And we will add that to our little collection and see what knows in there here in a moment. Throw that to the side for right now. We got this clear plastic thing here taped to the bottom here. Let's go ahead and cut all this tape off. They went tape crazy in 2008 trying to make sure this stuff did not go anywhere in shipping, and they actually ended up doing a really good job because most of these things Well, as you can see from 11 years ago, this thing didn't move much at all, so very nice. Pop that out. That should be ready to go. And then we got a couple of these twist ties holding the armadillo in place. So I'm going to get my little snippers here, because I don't really feel like messing with these twist ties. So we will cut them instead. Makes quick work of this. Mostly. Alright, cool. Flip it over here. Now this thing should just lift right out. We do have some rubber bands to get rid of here. And some more of these little doohickeys. Throw those to the side. And then this whole piece should lift out with a little persuasion. There we go. And again, we got some a cool diorama there. It's not got a whole lot of detail in it, but a pretty nice little battle scene there. So might be worth hanging on to that if you like those sorts of things. But I'm not worried about it right now. Okay, here. So 2 cool looking figures and lots of things to deal with here. So let's go ahead and pull twist ties off and toss them to the side. We got some here on the wheels, holding everything together. And cool little plastic insert here holding the figure in place, which is kind of nice. And a lot of these clear rubber bands. So let's cut the clear rubber bands. Again, it's pretty crazy that they are still intact after being stored like that so long. But it holds these little saddlebag things on, so that's kind of cool. Then another one over here on the other side here, holding this little cage thing on. And pull that one off. Then underneath here, holding this little plastic tray on. And that just pops off. So there's another rubber band here holding the figure in place. So we're going to go ahead and slice that off as well. And then that should let the figure pop out. And then we have to figure out how to get the figure off of this tray. And basically just kind of push on him and shove him to get him out of this thing. It will kind of get stuck on his belt here, so you may have to force it quite a bit. But it comes loose pretty easily, so I'm actually surprised how easy that was. Then we do have some more of those rubber bands holding his arm on. That should do it for Steeler. And that looks like that's everything for the Armadillo Tank. And we'll zoom in here in a moment and take a look at all these things individually. Let's just get them all unwrapped here first. Serpentor here has a cool little stand here. They did include these little plastic pieces to keep things from getting damaged in shipping and all, so that's kind of cool. But we do have a lot of twist ties on this guy as well. So let's start by just snipping those things off. One on the top, one on the bottom. And that should come away. Mostly. But his foot's kind of caught in one of those. So twist that around. And then the figure also has more rubber bands holding him in place. So let's cut those. This is the aggravating part of unboxing these things, but not too bad. And a cool Serpentor. Throw all this to the side as well. A lot of crazy packaging in these things. Then we're going to cut the back side of this thing off. And snip. And and snip. And that should come loose. And then this thing, snip it as well. Alright, that's all of the those things. And more rubber bands to deal with here. So we have one holding this little plastic piece on. You can kind of just pull that off and it mostly will just snap off. So throw that to the side. Then there is one more here holding the mouth of his steering column on and the steering wheel itself. So gotta cut that too. Just like that. And that should come out one way or another. Get my finger in there and hopefully that's enough to get it loose. There we go. All good. Alright, so there we have it. So we get Serpentor's Air Chariot, a cool Serpentor figure, we get a cool Steeler figure, and the very awesome Armadillo Tank here. So, let's go ahead and look at these inserts here while we're here before we zoom in on the figures and vehicles. This one unfolds. And has a pretty nice kind of diorama image here. These things always look terrible when you unfold them like this, but you can actually put them between some parchment paper and use an iron on low settings and get some of those wrinkles out. But it's got a cool 25th anniversary kind of thing going on here. A lot of the figures from the set, some of the vehicles as well. And we've got the Weather Dominator back here in the back. And we got Major Blood here. We got the Vamp. There's Duke, Trouble Bubble, and the Televiper, Cobra Commander there. We got Destro at the top here. Cool Bat figure. The Hiss Tank. There's Snake Eyes hanging off the top up there. We got the Armadillo Tank there. We've got a cool Viper. And it looks like General Hawk right there. So, pretty cool. And on the back we have more of the cool figures from the 25th anniversary line. So, very awesome looking. Some of the vehicles from the set. Some of the DVD battle packs. We got some of the comic 2-packs down here. The 12-inch figure line. And some of the single 3 3/4 inch figures there. So, very nice little insert there. Toss that to the side. And let's look here at our paperwork. So these things come bagged as well with more tape. So we're just going to slice that tape off real quick. Careful not to slice all the way underneath there to the sticker sheet. And let's see what we got. So we have stickers for the Armadillo Tank, and I'll try to get a scan of these for y'all to see that up close. And we have sticker sheets for Serpentor, which is very nice. I'd forgotten they kind of gave the snake a crown there, so that's pretty cool. Then we get cool file cards for Steeler. I guess I could hold it up here. Y'all can pause it right there if you want to read through that. Steelers. We get one for Serpentor. Again, y'all can pause it right there if you'd like to read through that. And they also include 2 extra ones here for the actual vehicles. So this is the first time we actually got cool file cards for the vehicles in the 25th anniversary line anyways. They've got the little angle cut on the other side of that to kind of differentiate them from the actual figures, which is a cool little touch here. But we do get one for the Armadillo Tank. I'm saying that very fast. Armadillo. my southern accent kicking in there. And Serpentor's Air Chariot. Very nice. These are really cool here. They got the nice glossy black back on all those and the figure ones as well. So very cool. And we also get instruction sheets, blueprints. These are basically the blueprints and the sticker placements, and I'll try to get an actual scan of these so y'all can actually see it a little bit more in detail here instead of getting the glare on the light. But we get a cool one for the Armadillo Tank. Armadillo. I did it again. And we get another cool one for Serpentor's Air Chariot. Very nice looking. I will point out that the little figure down here on the bottom side here actually shows him with a cape, but I don't think we get a cape in this set. So, anyways, that is all the paperwork we get. We also get a cool little accessory bag here. So let's go ahead and pop this open and see what we got in here. I'll just dump them out here on the table. How's that? So, we don't get a whole lot of accessories, but we get a few here. We do get 2 figure stands, one for each figure, Steeler and Serpentor. We'll look at these with the actual figures themselves, but we get those there. These are the very early ones. They have the single foot pegs, just so that you are aware. But other than that, same raised G.I. Joe and Cobra logo that we're used to, and the code names on the front. The back side has that 2007 copyright on it. Very cool. But we do get a little helmet for Steeler. We get a knife and a pistol for Steeler. So that's all of the accessories we get, which is kind of sad, but it is what it is. So, a very cool set if you are digging these couple of figures anyways. It's, again, one of the smaller sets, but really most people pick it up because of this really awesome Serpentor's Air Chariot, which is very close to the vintage version. Again, it does use the same molds and everything. It's been slightly updated for the 25th anniversary, but let's go ahead and zoom in and look at these individually, and we'll kind of look at all the details and everything. So we'll reposition the camera and go from there. So stick with us. So up first we have the Armadillo Tank. Very cool looking little miniature tank thing. Some really awesome looking detail here. So we have a cool little turret system here that turns all the way around. It kind of stops right there. You can sort of force it to go a little bit further, but it's going to end up running into that thing. The guns do raise and lower, which is pretty cool. One thing I will point out here is, so if you turn it this way, this thing just lifts off. And underneath here, there's actually some more rubber band systems here. So if you actually want that to kind of not be bouncy, you want to just snip that off. You can leave that in place and it kind of just snaps back, but if you don't want it snapping back, cut that extra little rubber band thing, and then these things actually go up all the way and they can actually lock into place, pointing all the way up, which is nice. They do kind of move up and down on it, so very cool. Then this just kind of snaps back in place. You see the little peg system here. You just kind of line these pegs up on the back side like that, and then turn it to get it to go back into its little turret system there. So very cool though. Again, raises, locks in place, and then you can lower it, turn it whichever way you want, and you're good to go. On the back side here, we do have 2 updated foot pegs here with these smaller foot pegs to hold 2 figures. So you get a total of 3 figures riding in this thing in style. You can set some of them on the sides and all that, but there's room for more, I guess you could say, but it's made to hold 3 figures, so that's pretty cool. Nice detail all the way around. Take a look here. We've got some cool panels on the front. Nice little, we have these things show up all the time, and another user in another video actually pointed out to me that's actually a fuel tank port. So you take like the fuel refuel tanker from the USS Flag, the little gas pump things, and they actually fit in there, so you can kind of refuel the thing. So that's what that's for, not something else. I think I had originally had mentioned something like it was potentially for a flag or something like that, but yeah, that's actually a fuel port. So thanks to the users who pointed that out to me. You learn something new every day, but that is a fuel port. So looking at the rest of the detail work up at the front, we do have a cool little winch system here, which is sculpted on the top and bottom, which is kind of unique there. We also get these nice clear acrylic lenses for the headlights. And we also have this cool little hatch cover here that you can pop off like that and get access to the actual engine inside. That's kind of a carryover from most of the original vintage line here. They all had these kind of removable hatches to get into the engines for maintenance and things like that. So it's a nice little touch that they kept in the 25th anniversary line. So very cool there. On the sides, we do have this tray thing, which is actually removable. It just clips on and pops in and out. So you can actually arrange it anywhere on the side that you want, left or right. There's these little tab-looking things, slots, and you just kind of line those up, and it just sits in place there. So in my head, it looks better back here on the back because it sits mostly straight there. If you move it anywhere else, you end up with it slightly leaning, and that just doesn't look right to me. So I tend to put it way back here at the back, where it's mostly parallel with the bottom edge of the actual tank itself. So that's the way I do it anyways. Some cool tank treads sculpted into it. You do have just the rolling wheels here on the bottom, and it does actually roll pretty well. Makes a nice little rolly sound. Then on the other side, we actually have another removable accessory here. This little saddle bag thing here. It works the same way as this metal tray thing here. It just clips on there. So again, you can put it wherever you want to. But again, in my head, it works best back here towards the back where it sits flush. So, but again, move it wherever you want to move it. There's no real way that you have to put it. It's entirely up to you. So, but for me, it's going to be back here at the back. Get back in place right there. And that's pretty much it. It's not got a whole lot going on. It's nice and compact. Very cool looking. You do have a nice turret system here, so you take your action figure here and just kind of stick them inside of this, and you can kind of move their arms around however you need to get them to fit in entirely. Otherwise, their arms are kind of out there and exposed, but they sit in there pretty nicely, and then can drive the tank around and shoot at the bad guys. And so you'll kind of notice here, though, and this is pretty much the way the original vintage one worked too. The figure doesn't always move with the turret. It does to a certain extent, but not entirely, because that actual cavity is not a full cavity thing, or I guess it is a full cavity, but it's the actual turret itself is just like a cylinder piece there. So just be aware of that. But I don't think you'll be disappointed with it anyways. It's a nice little vehicle. Looks really nice. It's kind of this nice olive drab gray. It's kind of a lighter gray than green. Olive drab green. It's a lighter color than some of the earlier ones here. I know they had like a They've reused this mold for a couple of different ones, and they had like a tan one, which is pretty nice as well. But this is kind of nice, kind of muted green color, which is a little bit lighter than some of the regular army green color. But it's still a nice little vehicle here, so very cool looking. Moving on to the Steeler figure here. We've got some cool small accessories, not a whole lot of them to look at, but we'll start here with the actual figure stand itself. Again, it's a standard 25th anniversary figure stand. We do actually have 2 foot pegs for the G.I. Joe one here. The nice G.I. Joe logo raised on the top, codename Steeler on the front. That 2007 copyright. Again, these are pretty standard fare for all of our 25th anniversary figures, and it's nice that they included these. A lot of times with the vehicles and some later versions of the G.I. Joe stuff, we didn't get figure stands with drivers, so I'm appreciative of the fact that we do get stands, so not going to have any problems with that whatsoever for me. Accessory wise, we have a small green helmet. This is kind of the standard regular G.I. Joe Trooper helmet. Some decent details here, just not a whole lot of them. Nice little peggy thing there. And it fits on his head very easily. Snaps on pretty tightly. Looks pretty good there with him. So yeah, not bad at all. We also get a cool little knife here. This is, again, so this is the figure itself is the same base figure that we've had with a lot of these standard G.I. Joe Troopers. So the accessories are pretty much the same here. We get this nice little knife here that has a little bit of detail work in it on the actual hilt itself, but not a whole lot going on otherwise. But the on his side, he does have a nice little sheath here that this fits into, so you just kind of line that up and just slap it in there. It does fit in there pretty loosely, so if you shake him a little bit, it will kind of fall out like that right there, but I still like that they actually include the holsters, so they get a +1 for me for just including that. We also get a little pistol here, which again has some decent level of detail on it. Again, I'm not really a big weapons guy, so I don't know what type of actual pistol this is. Feel free to leave a comment down there if you know specifically what that is. But again, some nice detail work here. And on his side, he actually has a holster here on his boot, which is made specifically for this pistol here. So we just slide that in there, and it actually fits much better than that knife does. So once you actually get it in place, it's actually not coming out. So that's kind of cool. I do like that. Beyond that, that's pretty much all the accessories we got. So now we just have the actual figure itself. Before we get to articulation here, I'll point out that his belt here has some really weird, well, I guess it's not weird. So instead of the standard kind of round peg that they use for a lot of these figures to hold these things in place, this one's kind of a square notch thing. So you just kind of line that up and press it back into place, but it has a tendency to pop out a lot. But just kind of press it back in place and you're good to go there. Detail level on this thing is pretty good for this particular figure. Again, it's the same kind of basic figure that we've seen for a lot of these green shirt figures, I guess I would say. It's got kind of a nice muted green color here, that kind of army green, but a slightly grayer version of it, I guess. It fits in really well with the actual Armadillo Tank here. It's got some nice details on his actual pants here. You see the straps where it's holding on his knife, and a couple little pouches. Some cool straps on his boots. Very nice looking. Nice boots as well. So all in all, it's a nice figure. It does have some decent details on it. There's his pockets on the back of his pants and things like that. But beyond that, it's kind of just a basic figure here. So I'm going to pull his helmet off for a moment so we can kind of take a look at the actual head sculpt. It's pretty nice looking. And he does have some nice details on this actual web gear here for him. Sculpted in pistol there. Some nice straps along the side. Some nice detail work for that kind of leather stuff. It's just kind of hard to see in black there, but looks really nice. So all around, decent figure here. Articulation wise, the head does spin 360 degrees. We do have plenty of up and down motion and side to side tilt. Standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joints. Standard ball and swivel at the elbow joints. And just a standard swivel at the wrist. We also get the chest twist articulation there, and plenty of that ab crunch feature. Some ab crunch. It's a little tight on this one, but get a pretty good motion in there. The web gear itself doesn't hinder it whatsoever. Standard T-hooks at the waist and hips. Full front motion, full backward motion, and a cool side-to-side effect there. We do get double knee joints, which are pretty tight on this guy actually. Double knee joints, and then at the swivel and rocker here on his ankle. So all in all, pretty well standard articulation that we're used to. The only kind of down is the fact that this is the just the regular wrist twist. But that's kind of typical from the this first generation of 25th anniversary figures, so nothing really unexpected there whatsoever. It's a nice figure. It's a good kind of traditional G.I. Joe figure. It definitely fits well with the early wave of things that they hadn't quite got to the level of crazy detail that they got to in some of the later years, but it's still a good all-around figure. And it does fit in really well with the Armadillo Tank. Color scheme wise, it's got that kind of muted green color going on. So it works really well. So it's not an outstanding figure, but it's definitely not a bad figure at that. That brings us to, for me, the real star of this particular set, and that is Serpentor's Air Chariot. This thing is a really awesome vehicle. Again, it's on a small scale, but it's one of those kind of classic vintage figures that just kind of sets the tone for the G.I. Joe action figure line in that particular era, for me anyways, and that is Serpentor's Air Chariot. So, very cool looking little set here. This is basically the exact same one as we got from the vintage line. The only thing that I can tell that is different is just the fact that we have a updated foot peg here that's in that smaller scale size, but everything else basically seems to be the exact as the original. And if you'll even look on the bottom of this thing, it actually is using the same mold, and it actually says right there, it's got the same copyright, 1986. If I can get the light to hit it. It's the 1986 Hasbro copyright. So, very awesome though. This thing's got some really cool detail work on it. You can see from the front here, that cool Cobra snake. Cool guns. We got these cool little air channeler things here, little whatever you call those things, air intakes. Awesome movable guns, so these things do rotate out a pretty good ways, much further than I actually thought they were going to. So they go not quite 90 degrees, it's more like 70, 75, something like that, but that is very cool. We also get this cool movable mouth here that opens up to reveal that little blaster inside the mouth, and some nice little detail snake scales on this thing here, but you can kind of just close that back up, and then that's a surprise for the Joes. They get too close and spits gunfire at them. Very awesome though. I really do like the detail on the actual snake thing here on the front, the little shield there. On the back, we've got, again, some really awesome details here. The little steering wheel actually does turn. It doesn't turn a lot, but it does turn, and it moves that snake head left and right, which is very cool. But some really nice details all the way around in here. Nice painted on details and sculpted in. Some cool console things here. We do have the movable little air fan thing here that came back to haunt Serpentor in the G.I. Joe movie, where Falcon kind of grabbed his cape and got it caught in there, and he went flying off into the crashing thing. But beyond that, some cool little stabilizers here, I guess is what those things are. I don't know. I'm not an air person. But they don't really do much. Got a couple of stickers that are kind of pre-applied here. And then the bottom has a few small minor details kind of in it. Some little panels and things like that. But beyond that, you just kind of see these little airfoil things here. And this little notchy thing here, you just twist that, and that's actually what turns that turbine thing. Very nice looking. This is a cool looking set here. So, we've got a foot peg there. So you take your action figure here. In this case, it's the Serpentor that came with it. Line his foot peg up with that foot and just kind of snap it in place. And he can stand and ride into battle, which is very nice. He does look like he stands a little bit taller than he should. But in order to get down there to his controls, he just kind of has to hunch over a little bit, and then he can actually drive. And and he does not come with a cape, so he won't get sucked in, but he definitely has to kind of move around a little bit to get him to position in grabbing those handholds. So it doesn't quite work as well with these slightly larger 4-inch figures than it did with the original vintage ones, but in spirit it works really well, and it does look amazing. We'll pop this guy back off here. The gold color is a nice darker shade than I guess I'm used to, and I don't have the original vintage one here to compare with, but to me this is kind of almost got that slight marbling effect going on here, so it's a slightly darker color here, or maybe it's just the fact that the plastic they're using is slightly different, but it definitely looks like it's a little thinner maybe, but it still looks really awesome. They've done a good job with the color scheme on it. Again, it's not got a lot of details, but the details they do have definitely work really well for this thing. So it looks really cool, and definitely brings back all those regular feelings that you got when you saw this thing in the stores way back in 1986. So that is very cool there. Very nice little air chariot for Serpentor. Our last figure in this set is the man himself, the Cobra Emperor Serpentor. Very cool looking. Let's start here with just the actual figure stand itself. So this is one of the earlier Cobra figure stands here. So it does have the single foot peg, not the double foot pegs that are much better. But this is the one we get, so that's what we got. Nice raised Cobra logo there on the top. On the front we've got codename Serpentor. On the bottom we've got the regular 2007 copyright. So again, I said it with the Steeler one. I'm just glad that we got these things with the vehicle driver. So beyond that, we actually don't get any other accessories with Serpentor, which is pretty much disappointing to me. This particular set had a lot of hype going into it, and unfortunately the figure doesn't quite impress me as much as I had hoped. But let's take a look here and see. Do have some decent detail work going on here. He's got that cool Cobra cowl here. It looks slightly updated here. Got the nice little snakes around his neck there. They are not removable. I mean, you can remove them if you really try, but they are basically glued in place there. So got some nice little details on his chest here. We do have a cool little skirt thing going on with some nice detail work on that. It looks really nice. Got nothing going on pretty much other than a little bit of texture on where his folds are on his pants. But then we have some really cool looking boots here. Got some nice shin guards, knee pads, nice level of detail work on the boots themselves. Nice little buckles that actually do have a little silver highlight on the buttons there, which is surprising to me. This thing actually looks really cool. And again, on his little skirt there, they do have those painted in rivet things. So I'm actually really impressed with that. And some cool detail work on his abs there. So you can kind of see that. It looks almost like a good figure, to be honest with you. The actual color scheme here is in that weird, slightly goldish color, but more of a tan. But it has this weird kind of sheen going on that makes it like they were trying to go for gold. But, yeah, no, it's just a little odd. Nice detail work on the actual belt buckle. The actual helmet itself is also removable, which is kind of cool. But then we see just a bald guy underneath. So I don't know if that shows up really well or not, but it's an interesting head sculpt, but definitely looks much better with the helmet on. So we're going to pretend like that helmet is not removable because he looks really weird with it off. Articulation wise, the head does spin 360 degrees. We get a little bit up and down motion, some side to side head tilt there, which is nice. Standard ball and swivel at the shoulder joint, standard ball and swivel at the elbow joint. We do get the standard swivel at the top of the glove, wrist kind of thing. Standard ab twist thing here. Some good ab crunch motion going on there. Standard T-hook at the waist. The skirt does kind of get in the way for side to side, but you got full front, and again you kind of hit that skirt there, so you're limited on the back motion. And then side to side, it's not too bad even with the skirt. It's open in front obviously, so it's you got a little bit more play there. And we do get a double knee joint, if we can get it to bend there. Double knee joint there. And then we do get a swivel and the rocker at the ankle joint. So all in all, the articulation is on point. This skirt thing is actually removable, so you can pop this off here at the belt buckle there if you want to. You can kind of see what that looks like underneath. It looks really weird, so we're going to put that back on and pretend like we didn't do that. But it does slip on and off very easily, so that's really nice there. Again, I'm really surprised at the level of detail that they got into this figure here. Something about it, though, it just seems off to me. And I really think it's just because that we don't really have many accessories here. There's no cape here, and they actually released so there's actually 3 Serpentor figures that they released in the 25th Anniversary Modern line. You got this one that came with the Air Chariot. You have the comic version, the IDW comic version that came as a single carded figure. And we also got a version of Serpentor that is a much better version, in my opinion. But it was as part of the Pyramid of Darkness DVD battle set, the one that came with Dusty and the skeleton guy. But anyways, in my opinion, that's a better figure. But this is the one that comes with the set, and it's not really a bad figure. It's just it somehow seems a little plain, and I guess that does work well with the fact that it's paired with the Armadillo and with Steeler, which is also a kind of a plain figure. So it's really not a bad figure. It's actually a pretty good figure, and I think I'm just being too harsh on it. But I think it's really the head sculpt that really doesn't work for me. But other than that, I do like the figure. Just a little odd, though. So if you have the option, pick up the DVD battle Serpentor version instead, and you'll be much happier with it. But this is the one that comes in the set, so if you're getting this as an actual box set, you'll be happy with this one. It works just fine. So I'm going to shut up now. So that is everything that comes in this particular set. You do get quite a good bit of action figure goodness here for your money. So pretty good bang for the buck here. You do get so the Armadillo Tank is pretty standard. It's the same. There's really nothing changed from the vintage version here. Slightly different color scheme, but it kind of is basically the same figure, same vehicle. So that's really what we were looking for in this set. That's kind of what all these box sets were supposed to be like, just a slightly updated version from the vintage figure to the 25th anniversary, and they did that well here. So this is a great set that kind of captures that feeling anyways. I don't really have a whole lot of use for the Armadillo Tank, but it's a cool little tank anyways. You do get a cool little Steeler figure, which is basically just a standard green shirt kind of figure. It doesn't do a whole lot for me, but it's a nice figure. It does pair well with the Armadillo Tank. And you get the really awesome Serpentor's Air Chariot, which steals the show for me out of this set. And you get a fairly decent Serpentor figure, which isn't bad. It's just, again, not quite what I was hoping for out of the set. But the more I look at it, the less I dislike that particular figure. It does pair really well with the actual Air Chariot, and I'm glad that we got the figure at all. So I'm really not going to complain too much about it. It's a cool set. It's definitely worth picking up just to get the new updated Air Chariot. So yeah. This thing is actually a fairly common set to pick up still in the box. They usually go for around 40 to 50-ish right now. The prices obviously vary quite a bit. They're not producing these anymore, so you can only go to secondary market to get these. eBay and things like that, some forums here, there, and about. But for me, if you can find it in the $40 price range, 40 to 50, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It looks good boxed, and the figures and vehicles themselves do work really well if you prefer to have them unboxed. So I don't think you'll go wrong with it. So I do recommend this set, mainly because I'm a huge fan of Serpentor, and the Air Chariot you just can't pass up. So yeah. Pick it up for that, and I think you'll be okay with everything else that it comes with, but you definitely want the Air Chariot, so there you go. Well, that's all the time we've got for today, so thanks for watching. Drop some comments down below. Let me know what you think about this particular set. Which is your favorite vehicle out of the set? What's your favorite figure? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So, if you haven't already, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Like we always say, I'm not going to really bother with that. It's you should know the spiel by now. If there's anything special you want to see in future episodes, leave that in the comment section as well. I'll try to get it in front of y'all whenever I can get around to it. So, yeah, until next time, Yo-Joe! And also, Cobra!